Palmy.
Right.
Is that the first thing anyone's going to hear? Is me burping?
Is that the right stream, or am I just watching the old one? My hand is not going up at the moment. I think I've just loaded up the old stream. Oh, this is a pain. Right. Yeah, we have 2 different live links. Brilliant. Right, that one. There we go. That's the one. And the chat's up. Amazing. Right, we're good to go. Finally.
Aaron!
Oh shit!
Aaron!
No, I'm still getting the old one.
It's up there now, definitely.
Maybe if I do this. While we are at the Monkeyseat podcast, at the Monkeyseat Motorsport podcast 7885, as if there's like 7,855 of us.
What is that? Our tag or something?
Yeah.
No, we should just be at Monkeyseat Pod.
I know. I don't know. It was just
on
the address line. It was just like, yeah.
No, we had the same tag for everything. I can hear that.
Yeah. Although I seem to be Tom Horrocks. It's quite funny.
Oh. You're not on my screen.
I am. If you go onto the live stream, it says Tom Horrocks in the bottom left corner.
It does, yeah. But it doesn't say Tom
Hi,
Horrocks.
tonight I'd be Tom Horrocks.
But it doesn't say Tom Horrocks on my screen.
And I know it's got Carl King under my name on the actual screen we're looking at, but it's not on the live stream.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
That's fun.
Tech nightmare. Here we go. Normal service.
We should just use OBS.
Hmm.
Oh well.
Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be. I can't even spell.
No. LLO.
Hello. Right. That was meant to be hello. Why is my H and my E not working?
Oh, I just thought you put lol but spelled it wrong.
No, I tried to write H hello, but the he was missing. There's always a he missing with me anyway.
Guess what?
What?
I remember.
Shocking. He's remembered to record.
Right,
go.
Max Verstappen has taken the checkered flag to win.
No, he hasn't.
That was absolutely brilliant. No, Sergio Perez is giving it everything. Oh no, Max, that was so not right. Goes Leclerc.
I know you can use that for that.
Unbelievable stuff. And into each other goes Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez.
Bottas took out both.
And at the back, that's George Russell out of this race. Daniel Ricciardo makes contact there with Kevin Magnussen, and there's a second contact.
My Lewis Hamilton beer mat is out.
What day is it today? Is it Thursday?
It's Thursday. It's not Wednesday.
Tom said, all right, let's podcast on Thursday. And he admittedly did. And then I got all ready at 10 o'clock yesterday. And I was like, right, I'm on.
Yeah.
And then Tom
got
was
text saying, just making a coffee and I'll be on.
Yeah.
And I was nowhere near my house. I was like, that's not happening.
I was like, I went, oh yeah, it's Wednesday. What the hell am I doing?
Well played. So I texted him this
morning.
I made the
coffee. So I did the most ADHD thing ever. I made the coffee and let it sit there for 3 hours, forgetting that I'd made the coffee.
So I did the most passive aggressive thing ever and texted him this morning saying, just a reminder, it's Thursday today.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool.
There we go. I actually wrote some notes to you, but I'm trying to find them as to what.
Okay. I haven't, because I'm not at work this week. Because I'm not at work this week. I normally kind of have my work day to kind of get things straight in my head and make notes from that, and I haven't done that.
Okay,
because
so
I've been off work, so I've just been doing other things.
Happened here is I'm ahead of you, and I even texted you the notes in the group. So there we go. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't got my phone is currently the live stream monitor.
I've got them up, so we're all good. I know, and if I start looking up, it's who's Mr.
George?
G95? Oh, is that George?
In the chat, yeah. We'll keep you company, George, while you're working.
What's he editing?
I don't know. Probably Grid Talk, I imagine.
He's editing Grid Talk. Well, that doesn't quite work. Like volume of.
I assume so. I might be doing something else to do with work. Who knows?
George can't be born in 95.
I don't know. George, were you born in 1995?
Why
Is
are
that
you
why
95? Yeah.
If you are, that's really depressing.
That's really depressing.
Mm.
How old does that make him?
No,
20?
they can't be born
20?
in 95.
Yeah, he's
That
not
would make
20.
him 19. No, that's not right.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no, be 29.
Oh, that could
Born
make
in
him
95.
right then.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, he could be 29. That could be really depressing.
That shows how old we
95.
are, that we think people born in 1995 are 19.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense to us.
Oh, jeez whiz.
Yeah, we weren't even 19 in 95.
I know. I'm surprised that George is even talking to me because, like, I haven't been on Grid Talk like forever.
Yeah.
He's
my
28.
God. He was born in 99. Oh, that makes me feel so old. I've had no messages from you on the chat, by the way, but there we go. It doesn't matter. Who needs notes? What are notes for? They're for chumps.
Well, I said hello even, so that's the only note I've had. What? Oh, you have not on the chat, on the WhatsApp.
Yeah, on the WhatsApp.
On Sunday, WhatsApp.
Oh,
at
did you?
1906.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay.
Oh my God.
There we go. I've slept since then.
Welcome to the amateur hour.
There we go. Got it. I've got it. Right. Absolute amateur hour.
I'm drinking Monster in honor of Lewis Hamilton. I know it's not his Lewis Hamilton drink.
And I'm drinking coffee in honor of the Space Vixens.
Little boots. Yeah, no one will understand that. Oh God. Right.
This green screen thing, or lack of green screen thing, and just doing this immersive view thing, it's a bit odd.
The problem is my room's pink, as you can probably see through my head.
And I don't like this gap that you get around the headphones where you can see the background.
They need to be able to fill in this gap.
Yeah, they can do it with green screens, but obviously this isn't a green screen, so it just kind of guesses. This is us figuring out basic tech live on a podcast.
There we go. So we had the British Grand Prix.
We did have the British Grand Prix, and it was a good one. And I get to crack out the Lewis Hamilton beer map.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Lewis Hamilton won.
Yeah, we know that. No one comes to this for a review, or they don't come to this for live analysis and stuff.
What do they come here for? What do they come here for?
Clearly for like ageist banter and amateur hour lols. That's about it, really.
Yeah. The only problem with my new screen here is that it keeps I've got like a light issue here. Keeps doing weird things. Anyway, there we go. I look like I've got a dark undertone. Right. Anyway, so Lewis Hamilton won. Yay. Well done. And actually, I was quite happy about it. And actually, I was quite gutted. And I will only ever say this once in my life that George Russell had to retire.
I wasn't.
I was, because it would have been nice to have 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah, that would have been,
and he would have been third, and I wouldn't have worried. Do you know what I mean?
But that wouldn't have happened though.
Why?
Because Max would have got in the way.
Yeah, but who knows?
I think the only thing that might have happened is he might have finished P4 with and Lando Norris might have held on to second.
Yeah,
I think that's the only thing that would have changed had George stayed in the game.
I know, but I
think Lewis had shown that he had the superior pace in the wet. Unless something crazy happened.
Yeah, well, okay. Let's talk about Lando for a moment.
Okay, if you want.
Who lost it?
McLaren.
Not Lando.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
He came on the radio and they're saying, right, we're thinking mediums for the final stint of the best tyre. And Piastri was like, yeah, absolutely. Then they said, we're thinking mediums for the last tyre to Norris, but what do you think? Hamilton on softs, Verstappen on hards. Now,
the actual term was, if I remember slightly more correctly, is what tyre do you want to go on? We can either go on to softs to cover Hamilton or go to cover this Hamilton, softs to cover Hamilton, or we go on hards to cover Verstappen.
But what they're doing, they're asking him, do you want to defend from third or do you want to attack for first? What they need to be telling him is what is the best tyre. Because they Mercedes would have fitted a medium tyre had they had the choice, but they didn't have the choice. And I saw that the best meme that I've seen that's reflected this is it says it's got like Bono going to Hamilton, we're going soft. Hamilton, okay. And then it's Verstappen, we're going hard. Verstappen, okay. Then Lando, what do you want to do? Here's a PowerPoint presentation about the tyres. It's just It's absolutely right. McLaren should be making these calls. Now, I know that in the situation
really,
with the drying track, but they have to make the call on the tyre. They can't just keep giving that information to the driver and allowing him to make the decision. They need to say, like with Piastri, they said, we're going medium. And he said, yeah, I agree. If they'd have said to Norris, we're going medium, we've saved a set of mediums, it's the best time for the final stint, he might have said, oh, are you sure? But he definitely would have gone with it if they said, yes, we are. And they've just given him lots of options and they've lost it for him again. McLaren are not used to winning. Red Bull and Mercedes have been winning machines for the last 10 years. And they're just not used to it. And they need to get those processes sharp again and get used to it. They could have won the last 3 races. They probably should have won the last 3 races, but they haven't. And that must be frustrating for Lando. He's finally got a car that can win races and he's not being able to because of issues with the team. Now, that's fine. That will come good. They just need to learn better on how to win. But like Red Bull have now forgotten how to lose. So it's when they're in a situation where they are not going to be the most competitive car, I can see them struggling a bit. I can see them overreaching for wins and then things getting away from them, like we've seen start to happen. But I think they just judged the weather perfectly in this one to then get back.
Well, I think to be honest, and they did. Was it GP did say to Verstappen, "Well done on that tyre choice." And
well, it was Red Bull's decision.
That's what he said. That's what he said. So I don't know where that came from.
I think he decided when to box, but to be honest, like that was his only chance. He was going for the undercut. He was taking a risk, and he got it right, absolutely right. And that McLaren and Mercedes went for the slightly lesser risk strategy, which is what you would do when you got something to protect. When you're just going for it, Max was nowhere in that race.
No,
and it was 3 or 4 seconds a lap quicker on those hard tires once you got them warmed up. So it was definitely the right choice to go with those tires. But he just judged it perfectly, which we know Max does in those conditions. Same with Lewis, and Lando's getting there.
How come Lewis survived on the softs and he didn't?
I think this is the difference. Like Mercedes and McLaren have got better tyre wear than Mercedes. They definitely look after the tyres better. So that's why when Norris comes out behind Hamilton on slightly younger tyres, I'm thinking he's going to be attacking Lewis towards the end of the race. And then it's going to be 3-1, Verstappen there as well. They're going to, Norris and Hamilton are going to lose time fighting each other, and then Verstappen's going to come through and win. That's what I thought was going to happen when those times started coming through. But Lewis has shown time and time again. You've seen first one that comes to mind, Turkey 2020. Just his tire wear is phenomenal in changeable conditions. He just knows how to look after a car's tires more than anyone else on the field. I would say better than anyone else on the field still. That used to be Sergio Perez, but I think it was just because he had a Sauber that was good on its tyres. I don't think it was anything to do with, obviously he's good with tyres, but I don't think it was particularly it wasn't that he was this amazing tyre whisperer. Yeah. But Hamilton has just got that edge on that. And Verstappen's got it as well, to be fair. It's a very underrated strategy of Verstappen. He's very good at his tyre wear, but both of them never used to be. When they started, they were both very aggressive and couldn't handle tyre wear. But they've adapted to these Pirellis perfectly, and they are the best. They are the class of the field in that area. So I think that's in those changeable conditions, keeping those tyres cool and keeping them alive. You look at his lap times; they were metronomic. They were so similar. There was the odd lap where he lost a couple of tenths, and that was it. The rest of it was just metronomic, constantly the same lap time. And at the end of the race, the tyres looked like they could go for another 10, 15 laps.
Yeah,
he did so well. So no, hats off to Lewis Hamilton in that race. He did so well. Norris showed that he was that I think that McLaren had slightly more downforce, which probably did go towards that as well, which is why it's better in the wet, because he just came alive in the wet conditions. I do think he would have been in the race without, but it was definitely, they rolled the dice on the weather and it paid off.
Yeah, and I think the weather obviously makes it an interesting race and made it more. And it was a strategy game, and who's playing what strategy. And yeah, the Red Bulls probably did the best strategy, or I don't know, did Mercedes do the best strategy? I don't know. I think they both had what they had. It was just what they
up until the final stop. McLaren had a good strategy, but I mean, not with Piastri. We can talk about that. That was he lost nearly the entire pit stop in one lap.
Yeah.
And the problem was there was the gap there. This is what I'm saying about not being operationally
Oh
sharp.
yeah, they
to,
would have been quicker to double stack.
yeah, I mean,
than they
yeah,
would have
Piastri
been,
probably would have
and
lost one
make
place.
Piastri win.
He probably would have lost one place. But that's just a disappointment of being where he is. But if he'd have backed off Lando, he still had 3 or 4 seconds back to, I can't remember who it was in 4th place. I think it was Verstappen. He could have backed off into that position. He could have backed off 3 or 4 seconds and then allowed himself the gap to double stack. He may well have lost one position as a result of it.
Yeah.
But it would have made more sense. They as soon as they called box to Lando, it should have been Oscar, mind your pace. Boxing this lap,
he sort of
stacking.
did slow down. He was sort of like right on him, and then he did go down to a second and a half. So he did try and slow down. I wonder if they just thought, oh, he hasn't got enough slowdown space, and we can't double stack, and they didn't think about the maths.
But he could just break a bit earlier for the.
Yeah, why did keeping him out and having to slip slide around?
Yeah. They obviously didn't realize. They thought the crossover was like at the crossover, so it would have stayed that way for another lap. When actually in reality, they probably all should have boxed a lap earlier.
Yeah.
So in fact, the crossover had gone, and they were just making good on these tires.
Mm-hmm. So basically, McLaren fucked this up.
Mm-hmm.
They
didn't read the conditions as well as other people,
which is normally that's pretty much one of their 4 strengths normally.
Well, I think that's fine. Like when you see with Max Verstappen fighting back into contention in the race, when you're out of position, or not when you're out of position, when you're in the pack a bit more and you make a brave decision, it looks better when you come out on top. Whereas when you're the first person, you have to make that call. Yeah. Other people can react to you, or they can pull the trigger early and take a gamble, or they can just react to you, and then it'll either work or it won't. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't really look like anything's happened. Whereas if it does work, you look like a genius. Whereas when you're in the front, if you roll the dice, you either lose the lead or you keep the lead, and therefore you never look like a genius strategy. So I think that's where it comes from. McLaren have always looked like they've had these amazing strategies, but actually, they've been rolling the dice and getting it right, and sometimes getting it wrong, but we haven't noticed. And I think when you're in the position to win a race, if you get it wrong, it's much more obvious that you've made a mistake. So I think that's probably what it comes down to.
So basically, that's the end result. That McLaren lost it for the guys. So Hamilton won. Russell and Hamilton were having fights anyway, and then there was a water pump issue. As far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
I mean, if the game played as it should have and Russell stayed in, where would have Russell ended up?
Well, I think we discussed before. I think he probably would have been 4th anyway. I mean, he might even have been 5th because Piastri was charging at the end there.
Okay.
His strategy going on to those mediums, it's just.
So what is Russell's problem? How would you have started? Why did Russell start in 1st and end up in 5th? Say not in if you were in your make-believe game.
So I think it was just down to Lewis's time management and his ability in those tricky conditions. His race pace has always been better than Russell anyway, but he's probably only a 10th quicker than Russell on race pace, and that's not enough to make an overtake in the wet. All of a sudden, that is enough. Because obviously he's probably better than Russell in the wet anyway. So then all of a sudden that 10th of a second becomes half a second, and it's a lot easier to overtake in the wet because you haven't got as much dirty air, and the margin for error is much less because you've got basically in the wet you're constantly making mistakes. You're losing a lot more time in the wet than you are in the dry. So it's therefore easier to make time up in those conditions. So I think it's down to that to get him ahead. I think if he'd have been ahead at the start of the race, he would have been controlling the race out front. I don't think it would have been. I don't think that's pretty sensational to say that. I think whichever Mercedes got to turn 1 first was going to be the one that was going to lead the way in the first stint. They wouldn't have risked an overtake because the pace differential wasn't enough. The only way Hamilton would have got past Russell on track in the dry would have been to go longer and overcut him with his superior tyre use. I think that's the only thing he possibly could have done. So that's why I think Russell probably would have ended up there. I do think Piastri had a phenomenal race. I think he raced really well. It was not his fault that he got dropped out. I think he probably would have been, if he'd have done that box with Lando, he probably would have been in there in 3rd place. And then if he'd have gone to the mediums.
So do you reckon Lando would have ended up in 2nd still?
I think if they'd have done the same tyre strategy, but boxed Oscar a lap earlier,
Yeah.
So Lando goes to softs, Oscar goes to mediums, I think Oscar potentially wins the race. He would have done because he would have. You saw his pace in that final session.
Yeah.
He was 20 odd seconds off Lando, and then at the end at the flag, where was he? I can see it here. At the flag, he was 12 seconds off the lead, and Lando was 7 seconds off the lead. So he gained 15 seconds on Lando in the last stint alone.
Had they gone on to the perfect strategy of Lando going onto mediums and Piastri actually boxing in the same double stacking, do you think that still would have stayed the same?
Sorry. So
if they had the perfect strategy,
if Lando switches to mediums at the end,
and Piastri does the double boxing,
those two things aside, I think it's a McLaren 1-2.
Oh wow,
yeah.
So they really did throw it away.
Yeah. Instead of a 1-2, they've got a 3-4.
Okay.
And that's just from changing one tyre choice and boxing a lap earlier.
Yeah.
The genuine thing I said. But a P6 for Nico Hülkenberg, though, that's phenomenal. I know he benefited from Russell retiring.
That's my next thing. That Haas in general is my next thing. I mean, Haas is out wiping Ferrari at the moment, which is quite weird.
But they're not really outdoing Ferrari.
Sorry, he's P6, and where was
Leclerc? Well, Carlos Sainz was P5 for one, a long way ahead.
And Leclerc?
Well, Leclerc had a strategy issue, didn't he? So he was way down.
No, Leclerc has an issue, full stop, at the moment. I don't think
Leclerc was.
I don't know what is going on with. Like, I really don't understand what is going on with him, and because he's meant to be the top driver of the two, the fact that he's the one that's been kept compared to the other one that's been fired, and yet Sainz is I maybe not on the tables, but Sainz
only a point behind now.
Yeah, Sainz is definitely winning out here.
Yeah, now it's Carlos Sainz 4 points, 146 points to Leclerc's 150, whereas before the race it was 135 to 150. So he's closed in to 4 points to within Charles Leclerc, which is unexpected, especially given he's missed a race as well. That is good going. He's definitely the more consistent, but again, Leclerc's just had strategy issues and stuff, which is just worrying.
But I don't know. I feel like the thing is, I don't understand this. How are they making strategy issues wrong with Leclerc, but not making them wrong with Sainz? And Sainz is the one that's on the way out. I don't get why they're putting
I think
more
Sainz is more kind of, obviously he plays the team game, but he races for himself now. Like, he will do what the team tell him to, but he's not going to go out of his way to help Leclerc. And if he thinks the strategy is wrong, he's going to say, no,
why would he, even if at the moment, why would he go and help Leclerc out? Even if he was
that's
his
job. That's his job.
It's not, because Ferrari don't have an official 1-2.
No, but if the team say let him by because he's quicker, then he's going to let him by because he's quicker.
But there's no point that that's happening, because Leclerc isn't behind.
No, he isn't. Absolutely, that's what.
And this is my problem at the moment.
All I'm saying is that he's not having to he's not having to justify changing the strategy or anything like that. If he wants to change the strategy, then he will change the strategy. But I think it was just down to circumstance. They took a risk with Leclerc. Yeah. I'm not really sure why they took the risk with Leclerc. I mean, personally, I would have taken the risk with Sainz, but they took the risk with Leclerc. It was wrong, and they failed to identify it. He was losing a second a sector in the first part. I was watching. I was screaming at the telly. I was like, "Look, it's clearly the wrong tyres. Losing a second per sector initially." And it's like, okay, you stick that out for a couple of laps in case the rain gets worse. After 3 laps go by, he's then losing 3 seconds a sector. It's like he's already lost an entire pit stop. The race is now over. There's no point staying on those tyres anymore, because you're just on the wrong tyre, and you're just going perpetually slower, falling further and further out of contention. Get back on the right tyre. Yeah. But they didn't do that. But the whole argument behind staying on those tyres, well, if it rains, we'll be on the right tyre. That's our only chance to get it back. Not if you're losing a pit stop a lap, which is where they were at. Look how much time Piastri lost on 1 lap on the wrong tyres. Do you know how many laps Ferrari did on that tyre? 8. 8 laps on the wrong tyre. By then, he's already lapped. And then when the rain fell,
it
what
was
happened?
just painful watching him being lapped by Sainz. That was hilarious.
When the rain fell, what happened? Leclerc had to box because he burnt his inters out on a dry track. Yeah. So what's the point of staying on it? It's not going to work. Just change them.
It does. There's a lot of strategy nightmares on this, and
that was bad. That was the worst from Ferrari we've seen all year for strategy. And it wasn't so much making the call. The call was wrong. That's fine. You roll the dice, you make a decision. It's double downing on that strategy and just not changing it.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Okay.
But you were talking about Haas.
Haas. Okay, so going back to Haas, Ferrari. Haas have been consistent. Well, at least Hülkenberg has. And definitely, and even Magnussen has as well. He's been consistently being a twat and crashing and things, but he
didn't get banned.
He didn't get banned. He still survived. I don't know how.
How many races?
They feel like they're on a better trajectory at the moment as a team. I did question one Kobayashi. Is that his name? What's his name?
Komatsu?
Yeah, it's Komatsu. That's the one. I did question him taking over, but he seems to be leading quite well as a team manager.
Well, I've never been the biggest. Well, certainly the last
I've not been a big fan of him because he's such a nothing.
No, the last couple of years, I've not been a fan of Gunther Steiner.
Yeah,
he's just a personality.
Oh, yeah, he's always just been a personality. And he's never been
Komatsu was obviously had the ear of Gene Haas and was saying, look, we could be so much more operationally sharp than we are. And he's proven that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hats off to him. He has proven that team was hemorrhaging points under Steiner, that they could have been optimizing a lot more. And they're not spending any more money than they were under Steiner. In fact, they're probably spending less, and they're probably getting less in as well because the whole load of sponsorship that hasn't come their way because of Steiner. But if they're scoring 6th places, it doesn't matter. They're making that money back and then some with their prize money. I mean, the difficulty is that it's such a competitive year this year. Last year's Haas would have been rooted to the bottom of the table. This year's Haas are in P7. And they're only 4 points off RB now. And if they had any more days like today, they could find themselves in 6th place. I don't think they'll stay there. I think they will end up in 8th place. I think they'll end up in 8th place now. I think Alpine will get regular enough points now between the end of the season. But
I don't. I think Alpine are fucking going backwards still.
No, I think they are on the way up. This was a step back, this race, but it's down to the car performance is getting better. Yeah. And it is fundamentally a better car than the Haas. I can see it getting more regular points than RB and Haas and probably Aston Martin as well. I can see them fighting with Aston Martin race on race for points, which means given that we are now halfway through the season. And in the first half of the season, Aston Martin have scored 68 points. If Alpine can score half that, then they will finish above Haas, I think. I know Haas have scored 27 points so far this season already, but I don't think they'll score that much in the second half.
Why?
Because they can't develop their car, and they've had some serious slices of luck to get those points. I think they will score more points. You probably maybe another 10 points. I'd say 40 points would be a solid season for Haas if they had to get to 40 points. I can still see Alpine scoring 40 points or more than 30 points between now and the end of the season. They scored 9 in the first half, but I think they will score 30 or 40 at least in the second half.
Talking about this, I got so confused the other day.
Was this the Ferrari Constructors Championship?
I'm so confused. My maths. We all know I'm a bit rubbish with my maths. I can't even tell you how old I am. It's that weird maths thing that it doesn't even make sense to me. I cannot work out. Well, first of all, and I would like you to answer this question: was McLaren ever above Ferrari?
No.
Right. So this is the first initial issue that I had. Was Laura, my wife, was obsessed McLaren was above Ferrari.
No.
And I was like, and then she was like, I'm sure of it. Why have Ferrari now got more points? Then I started doing the math, and I could not work out how if you do the math of Sainz and Leclerc, it comes up as 296 to McLaren's 295. And I was like, where the fuck are they getting these extra 5 points from? Like, whatever it is, 7 points.
6 points.
6 points. Fucking hell. Can't do maths. I was like, where have they got these 6 points from? What the heck? This is all wrong. And then Rubes just goes, Yeah, Carl Behrman. Like,
Yeah, it was literally just like one
Oh,
word.
yeah.
Behrman. Yeah.
That'll be it then.
The 6 points from Saudi Arabia that Ollie Behrman scored.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, the first few races of the season, McLaren were nowhere. Their first few results were Norris got a 6th place to be fair in Bahrain, and Piastri got an 8th place. But then you've got 3rd and 4th for Ferrari, and then you got 3rd and 7th for Ferrari in Saudi Arabia with Norris in 8th.
Yeah.
And Piastri in 4th actually, so it wasn't as bad. But even so, Ferrari have always been ahead of McLaren in the Constructors' Championship all year. They've not been ahead at all.
So, I mean, there is 7 points between McLaren and Ferrari now. Okay. So that's an interesting one. Right. So I do have a point with going on to Haas, and I still want to get to my point.
Go for it.
And this is more about Ferrari. Would Sainz be better going into the Haas seat?
I still think there might be a chance that he'll end up in a Mercedes.
So this is what George was saying, and now I'm all confused because I saw him doing a little F1 Chronicle video as he does. And that was the first I heard about it last night, was him talking about that. Say what? How does that work?
Yeah, well, I think because the whole point of putting Antonelli in was that, well, the car's not going to be a winning car. Or if it is, it's only going to be an occasional winner. So there's no major issue throwing them in. Now, all of a sudden, they seem to be competitive again. They seem to have figured it out. So maybe it is the right choice. And from what I hear, they may have tentatively offered Sainz a 1-year contract and he turned it down. And I just think that if Audi's on the horizon, they're not going to be competitive right away. You can probably stick with a year or two being bad. But the way that Sauber is at the moment, it's the worst car in the field by a long way. Why would a driver who wants to win races put himself in that car? Which is why I think he's looking at Alpine as a genuine option. But then when you're looking at Alpine as a genuine option, you're not looking at them as a long-term solution. You look at them as a way to keep yourself in the eye so you can make that last big move in a couple of years' time.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you then take that 1-year Mercedes deal and then take the Audi money after that? Audi could stick with Bottas for a year. It wouldn't be the worst thing that's happened. Or even if they want to just cash in with Zhou for a year and take his Chinese money for another year and then bring in Sainz after that, just give him a 1-year extension.
Yeah.
That, given where Sauber are as a team at the moment, that wouldn't be a disastrous thing to do. And then bring Sainz in for 2026. So like the Audi name returns to Formula One, and as it arrives with Carlos Sainz as its marquee signing, with a German Nico Hülkenberg alongside him, already the incumbent. That makes sense to me. And then Carlos Sainz would back himself to win races at Mercedes and fight with George Russell, prove himself to be a potential world champion, and then go to Audi in a blaze of glory. And it just might convince Red Bull, do you know what? This 2-year contract with Perez, let's axe that off. Let's get Sainz back in. You put himself back in the shop window. He ain't in the shop window if he's racing in a Sauber at the back, or if he's racing in Williams, duking it out with Albon for 10th place. I don't think he's getting in a top seat like that. If he's in a Mercedes fighting with George Russell and winning races, then he's got a chance of doing that. So I think unless this rumor about Perez being replaced soon is true, and if that is true, that Red Bull absolutely have to look at Sainz because it's the best option. But if that is true, and they're going to stick with him for this year, then maybe Sainz can look at that as an option for next year.
So Sainz has a bit of a field to play at the moment. I just can't, he is rumored to go everywhere. Anywhere that there's a seat,
he's spoken to every team on the grid.
I mean, if you were Sainz, you're saying that you go to Mercedes to then go to Audi?
Well, yes, I would, but given that this news,
but then what's happening with fucking the child?
Well, the fucking
Mercedes. The fucking child.
Well, yeah, it'll only be a year. That's the thing. It would only ever be a year. But you back yourself to win a few races in that time and then get yourself a better contract elsewhere. But now that this news has come out about Perez, I would definitely be asking Red Bull what the hell's going on. Because if Perez is... And
Verstappen and Sainz have been together in a team before.
Yeah, 2015, but that was 10 years ago.
And they were fine? Or were they...
There was fireworks, but... Verstappen was 17 years old and Sainz was like 21.
Yeah.
Like they're young kids,
and they
there
are
will be no
mates,
problem now.
you know,
To be honest, the biggest problem was Carlos Sainz Senior and Jos Verstappen.
Yeah.
But now that Jos Verstappen's got a bit less influence in the team, maybe that wouldn't be a problem anymore.
He hasn't legally. Yeah, he's still there though.
He has influence, but given that Horner and him don't get along, and Horner's the team principal, he can just tell him he's not welcome in the garage and not listen to him.
But we just sort of ignored the fact that Jerry Halliwell is not on the grid anymore, and we've also ignored the fact that that whole case has sort of gone away.
I think it's bubbling around in the background, but it's best that it's not spoken about for legal reasons. So I think it's still happening because the woman who was involved apparently has taken out legal proceedings against, but obviously would be under an NDA in the meantime. So I think we may see something come out in the next year or so.
Yeah.
But it depends if he's guilty or not, because obviously nothing's proven. So we don't know if he's definitely guilty.
We can't guarantee that. Not legally though. So yeah, I mean, even with so that automatically makes me think. If I was Sainz, I wouldn't want to go to Red Bull. A, that's still hanging over. B, Red Bull is that second chair, and Red Bull is a poison chalice. What is the point in going in there? Because if you have that second seat is not getting the respect it deserves from anyone. And that's what it feels like. So going into that Red Bull, no one's going to go into that Red Bull and start winning races. You've got more chance of winning a race in Mercedes. And you've probably got more chance of winning a race in a fucking Alpine and a Haas than winning a race as a second driver.
I don't think so. Perez has won 5 races in that car. And it's been his inadequacies, along with a little bit of car going away from him development-wise, which is why it's not worked. But I think that Sainz would deal with that a lot better. I think Sainz is a more rounded performer, more adaptable driver than Sergio Perez.
The thing is, Red Bull have options. Why would they put Sainz in there?
I don't think they do, though, because they clearly have shown they don't want Yuki Tsunoda in that car. They would have promoted him by now if they.
But they did give him a contract for a longer period.
Yeah, but
why did they do that?
Because he's proven that he's a good F1 driver and a yardstick. That what Pierre Gasly was in the AlphaTauri before. So he's proven that he is that driver. So therefore, he's worth keeping on board. Daniel Ricciardo, they were hoping would be more. He probably isn't more, but would he be an upgrade on Perez? Potentially in a better car, he probably would be, but some people just don't.
So why are they not putting Antonelli in the Mercedes?
I think he would end up going to Williams.
Okay,
he would just end up going to Williams for a year.
Oh, is that? This feels like there's a secret deal going on.
Well,
doesn't it?
Because
they're basically Sainz was going to go to Williams. Okay, you're not having him because he's too good, so we're going to take him and put.
If you're Antonelli for a year, we'll take Sainz for a year. You can have Antonelli for a year,
and we'll give you a free engine type thing.
Yeah, or discounted engine. Don't give them a free one. It's not worth that much.
But... No, but you know what I mean.
There'll be a discount. They would, and I think Williams has shown that they're open to that kind of thing. To be honest, they want a good driver in the car. But I think maybe you could potentially even see Antonelli, if that deal was to be done, you could potentially see Antonelli in that car after the 7th race.
And it means that if Antonelli is shit, Ferrari don't look shit. If he's another sergeant. No, sorry, not Ferrari. Mercedes don't look shit.
Yeah.
He basically does. It's almost like a sergeant. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I still think Sainz should go to Haas. That's my personal deal at the moment. It's subject to, out of all the other teams, if you were to take Mercedes and if you take Mercedes and Red Bull out, because in theory Antonelli was going into Mercedes and Perez is officially contracted for another 18 months at Red Bull. My thought would be, if all the other teams that he's got the options of going to, I would go to Haas. The Ferrari link makes sense. Keeps him within the world of Ferrari for when Hamilton decides to actually retire. He just slips straight back in.
I don't know I think it's just rumoured, but I thought that Ocon had signed for Haas as the other driver. I don't know if it's been.
Yeah, but hang on, Magnussen's still not in contract.
Well, yeah, they signed. Yeah, they signed Behrman and Ocon now, I believe.
Oh, is it Ocon?
Yeah, I know. I'm just looking now. I know. Racing 365 are reporting it. There's loads of Reddit streams about it. I've not seen it on like Autosport or anything
Laura
like
did
that.
mention like, oh my god, Ocon in a fucking Haas. I mean, he's a disaster in a fucking Alpine, let alone in a Haas.
Yeah, there's a lot of sources saying that it's a done deal.
God,
I've not seen it
Ollie
from
Behrman. Having to deal with him.
Yeah. Let's look on the Haas website, see if it's been confirmed.
Are we doing breaking news to us?
Yeah, looks that way. Not seen any formal announcement, but then they haven't even announced Behrman on their website, so their website is rubbish.
Oh yeah, they took off Gunter Steiner quite quickly though, didn't they?
Yeah,
he left.
No. I believe that he's been confirmed.
Okay.
Fuck
my life.
So yeah, that would rule that out. I don't see Sainz as an option for Haas anyway, to be honest. I just
is this and then who's going right? Okay, who's going into the other Sauber seat?
Well, this is the thing. They're still trying to get Sainz, aren't they?
Okay, so once Sides shows his cards, it would all start falling into place.
Yeah, that's been the case for a few months now. People have just been waiting for Sainz to make up his mind.
Which is what? Do we wait till the summer break, or are we looking between now and summer break?
I think probably when we come back from the summer break, probably the weekend of the return after the summer break,
which is
we'll probably
what
have
race is that?
I've got a couple more races first.
Yeah,
we've got two
races.
races. It's Hungary and then Spa, and then after that it's the summer break, and then we come back in Holland.
Yeah. So Holland will be interesting.
Yeah.
Zandvoort.
I
was near enough.
Zandvoort is some kind of crazy wizard.
Zandvoort.
I am Zandvoort the Grey.
I am Zandvoort. I come from Netherlands. I am orange, and I lost against England. There we go. I'm
Dutch. Isn't that crazy?
Well, how do we not make a comment on England? Anyway, I know we're not.
What was it? My friend Daryl, for those who don't know, he's been on Monkeyseat actually once or twice. He sent me a GIF. The second the final whistle went, he sent me a GIF of Max Verstappen doing this. For those audio listeners, he was basically crying and rubbing his eyes. Going,
my nieces and nephews, well, Laura's nieces and nephews, we realized that I'm the only weird uncle in the family now, because everyone else is there's all the brothers all have wives. Laura's the only girl that's an auntie that's attached to the family. Anyway, so I'm the weird uncle. And we're watching the England game, and my nephew comes in, he's Killian's age, and goes, "Go in Netherlands." And I was like, A, whose house are you in? Remember that. And secondly, your grandfather's English, which means you're slightly English. And my mother-in-law was just sat there just going, "Yes, you're more English than you are Dutch. So you better be supporting England." It became this whole thing in our house. and then my nephew was like, "But what happens to the Dutch people? Will they not be sad I'm not supporting them?"
Yes, I'm sure they're distraught.
It's so funny. But yeah, sorry, they're not related to anything. But yeah. Anyway, right. So is Perez leaving? That's the quick question.
Well, yeah, it's the rumor is that he's got a break clause in his contract, which could mean that his contract could be ended 6 months before it starts, which would be a record. But the break clause apparently, because when he signed the contract, it started straight away, but it was for the following 2 years.
How do you spell break clause? Surely there's got to be a joke in that.
Yeah, different. So I believe the clause is that he has to be within 100 points of Max Verstappen. That's the first clause.
I
is
saw this list.
substantially more than 100 points behind. Max Verstappen's got 255 points. He's got 118, and he has to be within 5 places in the Constructors' Championship.
Which
Currently,
he
he
is.
is within 5 places in the Constructors' Championship, but George Russell is 7 points behind him, and Lewis Hamilton is 8 points behind him. So he could conceivably, by the summer break, be solidly in 7th place in the Constructors.
I mean,
if that happens,
where is that?
Sorry,
he's not. Sorry, he has to be 5 places. Okay, I can't do maths because in my head he's in 6th.
Yeah, he is
that 5 places behind?
Well, he's 5 places behind. So whether he has to be he has to be 5
within
places.
5 places.
It depends on the wording on the contract. So I'm guessing, like, to be absolutely certain, if he's behind one of the Mercedes drivers, he's definitely in a position for that contract to be broken. So if Red Bull were to opt to break that contract, then
I mean, I don't know how real that list is, and I don't think anyone
conspiracy theory here. Red Bull signed this contract with Perez, this 1+1 deal, and throw in all of these clauses that previously did not exist. And then they see that the wind is changing and other teams are getting competitive. They sacrifice the first half of this season, or from race 4 onwards, whatever it was he signed his contract, and they start giving him terrible car parts and make him lose competitiveness so that he ends up just out of the picture altogether. They sack him off. They bring in Ricardo, Sainz, whoever it is. Could even be Sainz, which is why he hasn't signed a contract yet, which is why he's dragged his heels for so long.
He's not going to come in mid-season.
No, it's true. Fair enough. So, yeah, they sack him off mid-season to then bring someone else in. So they make him sign this contract saying, yay, 2 more years, Checo Perez. But actually, it's so loaded with clauses that they're going to sack him off 3 months into the contract.
There's got to be a clause that is, and he's not signed a contract that has a clause that the team can fuck up that much. Bearing in mind that he has had mechanical issues and strategy issues, which has lowered his points down. And he has played a team game in some of these places.
If you're Sergio Perez and Red Bull offers you a 2-year contract, you snap your hand off. You snap the hand off for it.
Without reading the contract.
You probably don't even read the contract.
Perez. He might not read the contract, but he definitely has lawyers that do. And
they probably worded it.
And he has agents and management that do. So there must be. I don't know what's. I
think if
Red Bull must be something that allows him to prove his worth without. He has to be within, he has to. There's got to be some way, because otherwise the team could just literally fuck him over constantly.
It could, but it wasn't the team that put him in the gravel in Q1 in Silverstone.
Okay,
that was down to him.
But that's what I'm saying. Is there I wonder if there's a clause that says he has to stay on track the whole time.
Imagine.
Do you know what I mean?
They could probably argue if, say, he was very close to this performance release clause. Yeah. And they could argue, well, if it hadn't been for your mechanical retirement or your bad pit stop in this race and this race, then we would have been well within that threshold.
Yeah, they
could potentially argue that, I suppose. But
are you arguing the toss for no apparent reason?
But again, like, if the team doesn't want you, why would you do that?
Yeah, they're like, okay, so then where does Perez go?
I'm sure there'd be a team that would pick him up for the money that he would bring, and his experience. But the only seats that would still be available, I guess, would be Audi.
No, Audi's gone.
It depends if Sainz has taken that.
No, Audi's gone at the moment in the idea of Ocon and Behrman. Isn't that Sauber?
No, that's Haas.
No, that's Haas.
Ocon and Behrman. Audi is Hulkenberg, and to be confirmed.
Okay, sorry. That's
so. I guess they would potentially look at Perez, but I think he's a bit damaged. He brings money in, but he is just a bit damaged.
Yeah, they've ticked off the box with the German driver, so they can have anyone they want now.
Yeah. I can foresee him actually dropping out of Formula One with this.
Oh, really?
The only other team would be Williams.
And he's not going
to or Alpine. He could go to Alpine. They've got a seat.
I forgot about Alpine's seat.
Yeah.
Now Ocon's vanished.
Alpine would be the only one, or then Perez could just take a sabbatical.
Well, I am intrigued as to why we've known Ocon is leaving for a long time, why it's taken so long for him to find a seat, or has he always had this seat? And anyway,
Ocon's only been leaving since Monaco, or since between Monaco and the race after Monaco.
Yeah,
whichever race that was, I can't remember now.
I wonder why they released he's leaving and not released that. I don't know. Did they want to open the shop floor? So
I guess, I think that came about quite quickly. Almost. I think it came about quite quickly. Alpine were leaning towards getting rid of him anyway, but then blaming him for the crash in Monaco. It was his fault, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But blaming him for the crash in Monaco with Gasly, then lit the touch paper for them to say, you're definitely going. And that's when he then starts talking contracts with other teams. I thought he was going to be the one that went to Audi, but they're obviously still, maybe they're thinking it's Sainz or Bottas. I think they are the best options. Maybe they're thinking, look, we'll put
it's strange that you're putting
Bottas
in there, but yeah, I suppose he's already in the team.
Bottas is fine. Bottas will match up fairly well to Hulkenberg. There'll be a decent team for a year, and then when Audi comes in, then he'll probably go off somewhere else or leave Formula One.
Yeah, I mean he's getting old now, older.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he seems like he's in the Kimi Räikkönen phase of his career, where he's just there to have fun and phone it in and just be a personality. And at the end of the day, the performance doesn't really matter that much, which is a bit of a shame because he's better than that. But when you've got the car they've got, that team's just.
I mean, to be honest, their social media is on point.
I mean, fine, great, fantastic, but they're an F1 team.
I know.
And they're a terrible F1 team. They've just gone backwards since Audi bought them. And they need to make massive steps next year to show that Audi are actually going to be competitive in 2026. I mean, they're not going to be competitive, but if they want to show that they have the chance of being competitive, then they need to make big strides next year, which I just can't see them doing.
Okay. Who was your driver of the day?
Hamilton, hands down. The only other person would have been Verstappen or Piastri. The only other two for honourable mentions. But for me, Verstappen. And Hamilton.
Hamilton. And Dick?
McLaren pit crew?
No, McLaren strategist.
Yeah.
There's no pit crew. The pit crew did fine. Admittedly, they missed a second.
That's
actually,
kind of what I meant.
The pit crew was fine. I think it's the strategist there. I don't even know who's the McLaren strategist. I'm going to
no idea.
Now.
I don't think anyone else. There's no one else really could be classed as Dick of the Day. I don't think, based on that, there was no bad driving, bad crashing, or anything that I can recall.
Who am I calling out? I'm going to call out a name. Well, Randeep Singh is race director.
Okay.
Is he the head?
Let's just say slight congratulations to Logan Sargent for his best ever racing finish in 11th place, which moves him above Valtteri Bottas in the championship. He is now 20th in a 20-team championship, 20-car championship.
Who's this?
Logan Sargent. P11.
How is Bottas in a? Hang on, Bottas is 21.
Yeah, because of Behrman. Behrman keeps screwing up your maths.
Okay, no, I understand that he's 21.
Because I'm count back on results.
Hang on. You've just said that Bottas could be going into or staying in Sauber.
Yeah,
but he's 21.
Yeah, because of the car.
But Zhou is 19.
Yeah, because he's got an 11th place. Or he's got two 11th places. I think.
Wouldn't you be like going with Zhou, who has 2 points?
Well, no. Zhou's he snuck an 11th place because of some heavy retirements. I mean, let's have a look at the results. Let's see where that result came from. I've got the results up here. Zhou got an 11th place in the first race of the season, so that's why he's ahead of Bottas, because of an 11th place in the first race of the season.
Okay. I'm running over my channels.
To be fair, that was a good performance because that was 20 finishes in that race.
Okay. Yeah, Ollie Behrman, who's not even racing, is 14th. Above Gasly, Albon. Albon is shocking that he's so low, even though he was doing so much better.
Williams' car is bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bottas now on the bottom. I'm sure Sargent will be back there again because I think Bottas will get some points this year, but that car is the worst car in the grid, so you never know. Oh, God, you can tell we're recording in the morning. I'm not used to doing this.
Right. Anyway.
Should we go?
I think Randeep Singh Randeep Singh is the race director of McLaren, so I'm
Cool.
deciding he's
Dick of
going
the
to
day.
be the dick of the day.
Okay, sounds good. Right, next race is Hungary in a couple of weeks' time. And then we've got Spa and then the summer break. So, whoopee.
Yay! We're
Bye.
gonna right. Bye. It's confusing me. I don't know who this person is. I don't know who I'm calling out.
Randy
I'm
Singh.
gonna. I've just decided it's him, but I'm not sure.
That sounds like a great drag queen name. Randy Singh.
There's Darren Stanley. He could be it, or there's another one. Anyway, I'm just going to call these people out. Although Darren Stanley is part of the Young Driver program, so yeah. Anyway, who gives a shit? Tell me who the strategy is. Someone